As we begin to speak on Lecrae and the Christian music industry, understand that, and you've seen this channel for a long time, I've spoken on the corrupt Christian music industry for a long time. Many other brothers and sisters around the world have done the same. This does not mean that every person who sings for Jesus Christ is a person who's wicked and wrong and all of that stuff. So don't put everything into that category either. But I am here to warn you of a rise in a false Christian system in America and around the world. And this false Christian movement sounds like the true thing. It has the Christianese language in it as well, but it be far from the truth of Jesus Christ. It has the appearance of godliness, but it's wicked. And as you see how Freemasonry has infiltrated into the church, and as you see how sodomy has infiltrated the church, now more than ever, brother and sister in the Lord, Lecrae is old news in the sense that in 2020, if you still have to be reminded that this individual is as lukewarm as he can be when it comes to proclaiming the gospel. If in 2020 as a ministry, you have to be reminded that before you book them to preach or teach your youth in your church, that you need to be careful, then you have no discernment. You have zero discernment. And I don't say that boastfully. As you look at the landscape of the church today, as you look at the Joel Osteens, where's Joel Osteen during COVID-19? Where's all of these faith healers that proclaim to heal all of these crippled people? Where are they in the hospitals healing people today? Where are they? It would be pretty easy to get a live stream going and go into these hospitals and healing all these people on camera. Don't get me wrong, there are a lot of brothers and sisters that are gifted in that and are healing for Jesus Christ. But you get the point. Where are all the mega churches at? I'll tell you where they're at. They're out there getting them PPP loans for their churches. You know, in the times when Jesus was out there spreading the gospel, in Matthew 16, from that time forth began Jesus to show unto his disciples how that he must go unto Jerusalem and suffer many things of the elders and chief priests and scribes, and be killed and be raised again the third day. I'm talking about a false Christian system that has been rising, and it's here and it's overtaken the church for the most part. So you better be ready to stand up for the truth. Because here was Jesus talking to his disciples what was to come, but here came someone who seemed so gentle, so concerning. Then Peter took him and began to rebuke him. Think about this. Peter began to rebuke Jesus, saying, "Be it far from thee, Lord, this shall not be unto thee." My brother, my sister in the Lord, as you begin to stand up for God in 2020, 2021, 2022, and on forward until Jesus Christ calls us home, a lot of people who proclaim to be disciples of Christ, I come from the Hispanic church, from the Pentecostal church. A lot of brothers and sisters, and I love my brothers and sisters who are Pentecostal. You get a workout when you go to the church. But in the Hispanic church, everyone's a prophet. You go to the church, you can be walking to the bathroom. The Lord told me. Okay, well, what did he tell you? You need to tell God to tell me too. And then by the time you walk out of the bathroom, another prophecy. And I'm serious. I went to a church that it was like that. You walked out of the church, you had like 10 prophecies. Which one is real? This is where you take things to God. And Peter came to him and began to rebuke Jesus. But sometimes you have to do what Jesus did unto Peter. But he turned and said unto Peter, "Get thee behind me, Satan. Thou art an offense unto me, for thou savorest not the things that be of God, but those that be of men." Peter was speaking. A disciple of Christ was speaking. But the one that put those thoughts in that disciple of Christ to tell Jesus was Satan. And in our day and age, God is looking for men and women of God to stand up for the gospel. And as you stand up for the gospel, there are going to be people that are well-intending. Sure, kind people. Yeah. But guess what? They're there to tell you that God told them for you not to follow the way of God. But when God has called you to preach the gospel, we are to obey God rather than men. People who proclaim that they are of Jesus Christ, but you know that their actions aren't, and you're going to have to say, listen, I love you, but I love the calling that Jesus has upon my life way more. Get thee behind me, Satan. Now, I would play the full interview of Lecrae on Vlad TV, but I know how the YouTube copyright system works. I've already had my dealings with Reach Records. They've already tried to come at me multiple times. Vlad TV the same. I'm only going to play a little excerpt here, but I encourage you to watch the full interview on Vlad TV and understand this, that Lecrae, you can tell that deep within the man wants to say the truth. But look at his facial expressions as Vlad TV is asking the question. His facial expressions are that of agreeing with Vlad TV to manipulate the situation, but deep within, you know that he wants to speak the truth, but why won't you? I'll tell you why Lecrae can't do it. It's because of the handlers behind the scenes. But how sad is it that Fat Joe can go on that show and call out the gay mafia?
Do you think that
I'm pretty sure I've done.
Do you think you've done songs with gay rappers?
Yeah, I think I've done songs with gay rappers.
You're pretty sure of that.
I'm pretty sure of that.
Which is very, very
It's
homophobic.
cool. It's the greatest. It's the greatest gay market in the world.
Do you think that there'll ever be an out of the closet gay
It's
rapper?
owned. The hip hop community is most likely owned by gay. To be honest with
But do you think there'll be an
they're
out
owned
of the
by gay.
closet-
I happen to think there's a gay mafia in hip hop.
Right.
Not rappers. You know,
Right.
the editorial presidents of magazines,
Sure.
the PDs at radio stations, the people who give you award at award shows. Like, you know what I'm saying? They are in power.
Yeah, man, I'm in the industry. I've been hearing stories since 1990 something. If you talk about it too much, something bad gonna happen to you. Cause it's something in the air, man. It's like I'm a conspiracy theorist, so.
Well, you know, Fat Joe said that there's a gay mafia.
I was just gonna say it, but I didn't want to say it because I'm a conspiracy theorist. But, you know, you talk about it, something's gonna happen to you.
Yeah? So you think there's a gay mafia?
I think if you talk about it, something's gonna happen to you. For real.
How is it that Fat Joe, a person who isn't a disciple of Christ, can call out the gay mafia, and Too Short can go on Vlad TV and call out the gay mafia too? And I was speaking to my brother Seiko Woods yesterday at about 5:30 in the morning. Us preachers that work, we call out, we interact with each other super late. And I was writing him at 5 or something in the morning, and he was right there up to doing his stuff too. And Seiko Woods is a great brother. Brother Woods is a great brother. He's always been on this, you know? He is always on this stuff. He's on point when it comes to this stuff. So I appreciate my brother Woods for stepping up, and he gets a lot of hate for going at it. But you know what? He's got to do what he's got to do. And brothers and sisters in the Lord, if you have a calling to expose something, you got to do what God called you to do. And pray for Lecrae. Pray for him, man. Pray that he may turn around, because what he doesn't realize is that the powers that be are laughing at him. They're laughing at him. He doesn't realize that. Check how Lecrae is tippy-toeing over the questions. Very simple questions here. He either stands for the truth of Jesus Christ or he doesn't. But he tiptoes over the homosexuality question.
You know, who once again is the owner of Chick-fil-A. He's kind of had an interesting history in terms of statements he made with the gay community, in terms of statements he made about family. He said, we are very much supportive of the family, the biblical definition of the family unit. We are a family-based owned business, a family-led business, and we are married to our first wives. We give God thanks for that. We want to do anything we possibly can to strengthen families. We're very much committed to that. We intend to stay the course. We know that it might not be popular with everyone, but thank the Lord that we live in a country we can share our values and operate on biblical principles. He basically had said, you know, that type of tone basically said that he does not approve of gay marriage. And there was a number of protests that have happened around Chick-fil-A. Now, Chick-fil-A turned around and started donating to gay causes and so forth. But there's still a stigma attached to it. What is your take on the statements? Have you heard this, or is this all new to you?
Nah, I didn't know that. Nah, I didn't even know that. So that's, I mean, yeah, I don't know where they stand or where they stood. You know what I'm saying? I mean, yeah, that's not something I was even aware of. You know, that's news to me.
Let me go on and tell you some of his other statements. He said, I think we are inviting God's judgment on our nation when we shake our fist at him and say, we know better than you as to what constitutes a marriage. I pray God's mercy on our generation that has such a prideful, arrogant attitude to think that we have the audacity to define what marriage is about.
Wow. That's something that they still stand by that to this day?
Yeah. The quote I gave you first was a follow-up to the original quote. He even, when he did an interview with a Biblical Recorder, you know, when they asked him about opposition of his company's support of the traditional family, he replied, well, guilty as charged.
So wait, I kind of missed the quote, but I guess I'm just kind of like, yeah, I don't know the whole quote.
He basically says that they support the traditional male female marriage. Okay.
I got you.
Now, he's saying that for people who think that their definition of marriage, you know, which could be 2 males, 2 females, whatever else.
Yeah.
If they feel they know better than God when it comes to their definition of marriage, well, he prays that they have mercy for this arrogant attitude to actually define what marriage is against what God is saying in the Bible.
Wow. You know what I'm saying? That's something.
Same sex.
Yeah, or the same sex, excuse me. I don't condemn him. You know what I'm saying? Like, if anything, we'll dialogue so that I can have a better understanding. Because I don't profess to be like, I got this all figured out and I know the way this should be. Like, I'm trying to read the Bible, I'm trying to have conversations with people, and I'm trying to understand, you know, the perspective. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like anybody who wants to come at a person negatively, like if you was a Christian and you came at me negatively, then it's like, you're not giving me the grace and the space to be a learner. You know what I mean? Help me, you know, give me the space and the grace to learn. And that's how we move forward. You know what I'm saying? So you could point something out to me and say, hey, this is what it says, Lecrae, you should know better. You should know this. Well, you know, give me the grace and the space to take my time and understand the perspective on it and understand why these people think it this way. And that's the perspective I have. I'm more of a learner, and I give people the grace and the space as I'm processing and as I'm learning, you know, and just walk with people through that. You know what I mean? To just be a lifelong learner, man.
Colossians 2:8, beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after the tradition of men, after the rudiments of the world, and not after Christ. Listen, Lecrae, if you watch this, and if you know Lecrae, if you can send it to him, tweet to him, or whichever. If you watch this, man, listen. The world is laughing at you. Because the world and the music industry, you're seeking their approval for some reason. But the world can never have enough. Look at Chick-fil-A, for example. They asked you a question about the Chick-fil-A guy who he had a stance on biblical marriage, and look at Chick-fil-A. They gave in to the world's pressure. They started supporting LGBTQ and all of the other acronyms. What happened at Chick-fil-A? Was it enough? It wasn't enough. It will never be enough. Because when it comes to this world and its sinful behavior, they proclaim tolerance, tolerate us. But where's the tolerance for biblical Christianity? There isn't any. And it's because those that are brothers and sisters in the world that have any type of influence to stand bold and be made an example, fine, be made an example for Christ. There aren't many of those people in the church. Let them try to mess with Islam. You'll have Farrakhan up there with 1 million people marching for Islam, which is demonic. But let people mess with Christianity. What do you have? You have people like Joel Osteen that'll tiptoe over it like Dancing with the Stars. You have Lecrae up there tiptoeing over it like Dancing with the Stars. You have mega church pastors there saying that we need the grace and the space. We need the grace and the space. You've been in the church for like 20 years. What more grace and space do you need?